I think it's safe to say that millions appreciate what the Petty family has done for motorsports. Even the lead into this show touches on that. I don't know about you, but I remember where I was at when the direction of my life was formed, Michigan International Speedway, on August 23rd, 1974, when I saw Richard Petty's fire red and Petty blue Dodge go screaming by. Since then, probably just like you, we've been hooked. From our first media gig at the tender age of 15 in 1983 with Grand National Scene, to printing our own Supercars Today magazine in the 1990s, hence our name. Nothing against our open wheel friends, but if it has fenders, our nosy nature wants to find out the who, the why, and the how. We don't necessarily interview these people, we have conversations. So please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to be notified of new content every Tuesday at noon. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment on, and share these videos. Today on the program, of Lee and Elizabeth's two sons, Richard and Maurice, the latter, known as the Chief, was more known for his engine-building prowess. However, he did start 26 NASCAR Cup events. How did he stack up against his famous brother, the King? Now, Richard's first ever race came on July 12th, 1958, 10 days after his 21st birthday, but that was a NASCAR convertible race. However, Richard's first Cup race came 6 short days later, while Maurice's first Cup race came 5 months after his 21st birthday. Some may feel this video is comparing apples to oranges, but let's take a look. Of Richard Lee Petty's 26 NASCAR Cup starts, 9 came in 1958 and 17 came in 1959. However, Maurice Ellsworth Petty, Richard's younger brother by almost 2 years, his starts came between 1960 and 1964. Aside from 1958, in 1959, Richard raced at least once a week, and by the end of the year was racing almost every race, whereas Maurice would run only about 5 or 6 times per season. As a matter of fact, the Chief only ran multiple races 5 times in a row, and only once did he run 3 in a row, and that was in 1963. The Chief never drove a track over a mile in length, while Richard drove Daytona, Darlington, Atlanta, and Charlotte. So for comparison purposes, here you've got Richard running every week to gain experience, and yet you've got Maurice running only a handful of races every season. But the argument could be made that when Richard started, the team was 3 years behind in experience. But also a considering factor are the 1961 events at Daytona, where both Richard and Lee wrecked out of the track, and basically put Lee in a hospital for 4 months down in Florida. It put the reins of the company into the hands of the kids, Richard and Maurice. So in the interest of fairness, for these comparisons, we want to point out as many of these factors as we can. It took Maurice only 5 races to gain his first top 5, a third, whereas it took Richard until his 12th race to get his first top 5, also a third. In 26 races, Maurice finished in the top 5 7 times, whereas Richard finished in the top 5 4. As far as top 10s go, Richard had 3, whereas Maurice had 7. Now the King had 1 lead lap finish. That was in his 17th race, whereas the closest Maurice ever came to that was 2 laps down in his 18th race. As far as average finishes, wow, Maurice had a 10.6 and the King had a 17.4. As far as DNFs, Richard had 16, 5 of those being crashes, whereas Maurice had 8, 3 of those being crashes. And the King crashed out of his first race, where it took Maurice all the way to his 15th to wreck out. Now Richard did lead 7 laps at Darlington in 1964, whereas Maurice never led a lap. Also that day at Darlington, Richard picked up his biggest payday at $2,850, whereas the most Maurice ever made in a race was $400 in his 21st race at Concord. In the laps finished department, Maurice completed 4,160 out of a possible 5,252, whereas Richard, out of a possible 5,404, completed 3,514 laps. Because of the 2 years' experience that Richard had over his little brother, he leads head-to-head 17-8. However, in 1961 at Spartanburg, he took over the controls for Maurice in a relief driving role. For his total driving career in 26 starts, the Chief had 7 top 5s and 16 top 10s, while his famous brother gathered 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s in his first 26. In an interesting sidebar, Richard's first ever start came with the number 142 on the side. He also drove 5 races in the number 2, 2 races in 42A, 1 race in number 24, 2 races in number 42, and 15 in 43. While the Chief's first start came in the number 44. He drove 9 total starts in the 41, 11 times with the 42, 4 times with the 43, and 1 more with 44 on the side. So we could say Maurice is more associated with the 42 than the 41. But anywho. All of Chief's starts came in a Plymouth, while only 5 of Richard's came in a Plymouth and 21 in an Olds. Richard Lee's career behind the wheel has been well documented, so is there really a need to go back over it? But however brief, there's not much said about Maurice's time behind the wheel. One could be economics, another could be that they just needed somebody else in the pits, and I've heard Maurice say in interviews before that he had a very bad wreck at Columbia in his 20th start. But his career, following that stint, is well known, and in 2014 was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the first engine builder to be so honored. You may wonder why we made this video, and we must go back to Richie, Timmy, and Mark, who have their own show on YouTube as Petty Brothers Racing. They played a clip from their grandmother describing when their father woke up one morning at 4 years old, stricken with polio and couldn't walk. Now, according to Elizabeth, she stated that she feels only a boy like Maurice could have made it through something like that, unlike Richard. So that's why we thought, well, let's go back and crunch the numbers. Now, it's too bad Maurice is gone, because I would love to throw these numbers at both he and his brother and see what they have to say. But, you know, it is what it is, and we want to know what you have to say. So please comment below, and please like and subscribe our videos, and hit that notification bell for whenever we put up a new offering, which is every Tuesday at noon. Thanks for watching.